Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullahu khairan for joining me for another installment of the Du'as in the Quran series. Today we're going to be studying one of my favorite du'as in the Quran from a prophet who is near and dear to all of our hearts, the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. This dua comes in a time when Musa alayhi salam has not been given prophethood yet. So he's not been given the task to go to Fir'aun yet. Rather, this situation happens when Musa alayhi salam is a young man living in the city where Fir'aun and his people are the dominant class and the dominant race. And Musa alayhi salam's own tribe, Bani Israel, they are enslaved and they are under the rule of Fir'aun the tyrant. We know that at this juncture, Musa alayhi salam used to go out into the city just to offer his help and services to anybody who he found who needed such help and services. One day he goes out into the city and he finds there's two men in an argument. One man is from Bani Israel, his own tribe, and the other man is from the people of Fir'aun. So they're having this really heated argument. It looks like it's getting kind of getting out of control. And the man from Musa alayhi salam's tribe calls out for help. He says, come and help me, come and help me. So Musa alayhi salam rushes to see what he can do to help. And unfortunately, things escalate. And Musa alayhi salam ends up in a scuffle with the other man. He punches the other man. And because of this punch, that man passes away. Musa alayhi salam is immediately regretful because that was not his intention when he joined this gathering. So he's immediately regretful. He makes dua to Allah. He begs Allah to forgive him. Unfortunately, the situation just gets worse for Musa alayhi salam from there. The next day, he comes out into the city trying to see if there's any news or anyone's saying anything about him, and he sees the same man from his tribe in another argument with someone from the people of Fir'aun. Immediately, Musa alayhi salam realizes this man is a troublemaker. And he tells him so. He says, you're somebody who just stirs up trouble. Yesterday, you called me, you got me into all this mess. And the man from the people of Fir'aun accuses Musa alayhi salam and he says, oh, are you trying to kill me the way that you killed the man yesterday? While this conversation is going on, a third man joins the conversation with Musa alayhi salam. This man is from the people of Fir'aun, but he is a believer. He is someone who stands for justice and truth. So he rushes to the group and he tells Musa alayhi salam, you need to get out of the city. Fir'aun has already held court and they've decided to execute you. Which, by the way, we all know is not right. There needs to be due process. Musa alayhi salam has not had a chance to defend himself. He's not had a chance to explain what happened. They've already tried his case without his knowledge and they've already sentenced him. So Musa alayhi salam flees the city with nothing but the clothes on his back. He doesn't get to say goodbye to his family. He doesn't have a plan where he's going to sleep. He doesn't know where he's going to eat. He just leaves. Musa alayhi salam keeps running. He flees until he gets to a city called Midian. And finally, when he gets there, he can rest. So he sits under a tree close by to where there's a well or a river, etc., a well where people are getting water for their animals. And he's just sitting there, probably tired, probably anxious, probably very concerned about what's my next step. As he's sitting there watching the people get water for their animals, he notices that there are two women with their own animals, and they have a large flock of sheep. It mentions that the women are tugging with the sheep, right? The sheep or the animals, I'm assuming they're sheep, they want to rush to the water, they want to drink water, and the women are pulling them back, right? So they're in this tug of war with the sheep. Musa alayhi salam asks them, what's going on? Why don't you just let the sheep go? And they say, no, we're going to wait till the crowd dies down, right? We don't want to get mixed up. It's too crowded. People are pushing and shoving. We're going to wait till the crowd dies down. Our father is. And then they explain to him, why are two women out here doing this work anyway? In their culture, this is usually the work of men. So they explain that our father is an old man. So we have to do this work. Well, Musa alayhi salam, he sees the predicament that the women are in. So he decides to help. It's part of his nature. So he takes the animals from them, he enters the crowd, he braves the crowd, and he gets the animals watered and situated, then brings the animals back to them and hands them off so the women can go home. And once he's done that, this is where our ayah comes in. So in our ayah over here, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, it says, فَسَقَى لَهُمَا. Musa alayhi salam, he watered for the two of them, meaning he watered the animals for the two of them. ثم تولى إلى الظل. And then he turned back to the shade, meaning he returned to his tree or wherever he had been sitting under in the shade. فقال, and then Musa alayhi salam says, Rabbi, my Lord, my Master, my sustainer, my cherisher, my provider. إني لما أنزلت إلي من خير فقير. I am in desperate need of any good that you send down to me. It is such a beautiful dua. Now, there's just so much we can say about this dua. Before we talk about the beautiful way Allah answers it, let's just break down a few things first. Number one, Musa salam, he gets these ladies, he takes care of their animals. He doesn't ask them for anything. He doesn't ask them to pay him. He doesn't ask them, well, give me one of the animals for dinner tonight. Nothing, right? He helps them, he takes care of them, and then he goes back to his business. He is a kind-hearted person who is sincere. He's not doing this because he wants something from them. And then when Musa salam returns to the shade, he makes dua to Allah, who he knows can help him. This is very beautiful because even though Musa salam has not received prophethood yet, he has not had that conversation, that iconic conversation with Allah where he goes to the fire. We know that conversation very well. He has not had that yet, but Musa salam knows that he has a Rabb. He has a sustainer, a cherisher, a provider who takes care of him. And so he turns to his cherisher and his provider. And he says, I just need whatever good you can send me. I'm in desperate need. What's beautiful is the word faqir over here. Faqir means completely destitute, completely penniless. And Musa salam also, he doesn't specify what good he wants. He doesn't say, I'm in need of food, I'm in need of shelter. He just says, any good that you can send me. Subhanallah. It's so beautiful and so general. And you know what's so touching is the way Allah answers this dua. In the next ayah, Musa salam is still under his tree, and one of the women who had been with the sheep comes to him and tells him that my father wants to speak to you. He wants to reward you. He wants to compensate you for helping us today. So Musa salam goes home with her, and Musa salam speaks with her father. It's mentioned in some of the tafsir that her father was actually a prophet as well, Allahu A'lam, but it is mentioned that he was a prophet as well. So Musa salam tells him everything that happened, how he was, in this situation back home in his city, and they had this trial and they were coming out to kill him. And the old man says, you're safe. Don't worry, you're safe. And then one of the ladies tells the father, Dad, you should hire him. And this is her, subtle way of saying, I'm interested in him. So the father turns to Musa salam and says, I'd like to marry you to one of my daughters. In exchange, you can work for me between 8 and 10 years. I'll give you a choice. And if you agree, it's a deal. So Musa salam, look at the way Allah answered his dua. He told Allah, I am completely penniless. I have nothing. I need any good you can give me. And just a few moments later, Musa salam has a family. He has a job. He has a place to stay. He has food. Everything a person could want to be able to live a comfortable, content life, Allah gives it to him. One of the things that is mentioned, that our scholars mention about this, is that whenever we make dua, we should always make dua after we've done a sincere good deed. When we've done a good deed just for the sake of Allah, just to help someone, just to get Allah's pleasure. Another thing that we learn is that Musa salam did not give up. He didn't look at these women when he was sitting under the tree with nothing. He didn't say, oh, well, they look like they have some issues going on, but I have bigger problems. I don't have time to think about anybody else. He didn't say that. He didn't forget that he still had gifts from Allah that he could offer someone else. Allah has given him strength. Allah has given him the ability to help these people. So even though you and I might look at him and say, poor thing, no family, no job, no home, no food, no place to stay, running away from his city, not even an extra pair of clothing. But he looked at himself and said, oh, I have something I can offer. I can help these women. And so he did. And then after that, he turned to Allah. He asked Allah for help. And Allah answered his dua so beautifully and so completely in a manner that nobody else but Allah could possibly answer. So I wanted to remind us, when we're in a situation that we feel is desperate, two things. Number one, don't forget that Allah has given you gifts and talents, and you can benefit other people in some way, shape, or form. Think about what you can do to help other people and do it. Secondly, follow up your good deeds with dua. Anytime you do something good, turn to Allah. Be grateful that Allah gave you the opportunity to be of service to another human being, and ask Allah for your needs. And number three, never be embarrassed or ashamed to be humble in front of Allah. This is what Allah wants from us. Don't be embarrassed or ashamed to turn to Allah in complete need and in complete submission, because that is the very definition of a Muslim. We are all poor and in need in front of Allah. And Allah is our Rabb, our loving cherisher and sustainer. He answers our du'as when we ask Him, and He loves when we ask Him. So let's go ahead and let's learn this du'a together. So it's over here, it's highlighted. Let me just kind of show that for you. So here it is. This is surah number 28, ayah number 24. And we're going to read it a couple of times so we can get it, understand how to pronounce it. I got some feedback from the last video to try and include a transliteration. So that's it over here. If you want to follow that, I prefer the Arabic, just because I feel like transliteration sometimes can be mispronounced, but that's why we're going to do it together, okay? And there's a translation over here as well, all right? So Bismillah, we're going to start. Rabbi. Rabbi, we talked about the word Rabb, my Lord, my Master. Rabbi, inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. What I'll do is I'll go ahead and I'll actually hover over the words as we're looking at them, okay? So here we have Rabbi, Rabbi, inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir. Beautiful dua. And Musa alayhi salam, another interesting point that's mentioned is Musa alayhi salam doesn't form this as a question. He doesn't say, oh Allah, give me something. He just makes a statement, right? I need whatever, I'm in need of whatever good you can give me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens the doors of good, opens the doors of beautiful mercy to Musa alayhi salam. I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens those same doors of good for us, opens those doors of mercy for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be beneficial to humanity and in service to humanity, no matter what situation we find ourselves in. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.